SummerSlam 2024 has come and gone, and for the first time in a long time, the biggest party of the summer actually felt like the biggest party of the summer. This show featured massive heel turns, the crowning of new champions, and one of the most electric and anticipated returns of all time. The original Tribal Chief came back. Dominik Mysterio proved that he will carry on his dad's legacy forever by lying, cheating, and stealing. We finally had CM Punk and Drew McIntyre go to war after months of anticipation, and the Judgment Day has seen their final day. Everything on this SummerSlam card served some sort of purpose, whether it was to advance a storyline, give us a crazy moment, or give the nod to a new champion. And if I had to describe this show in one word, it's eventful. After an extremely mediocre showing last year in Detroit, we got an all-time classic SummerSlam. It's a show that had all the right outcomes, but surprisingly, I don't think there's a single match on here that outperformed the others by a landslide and is the crown jewel of this show. It really depends on what you like, as you got the variety and things were just strong across the board. I'll get into that in a second, but first things first, for the longest time I've been begging and pleading for the WWE to just do something with these generic long entrance ramps. They're dull, they're boring, they're as general as can be, and I have hated these things being the norm for the big fours for a long while. Now, finally, WWE added a touch of personality to these stadium shows. Even though it was just minor, SummerSlam had its own identity. Even though it wasn't big and extravagant, it doesn't need to be. I've always said that you don't need to have a grand stage every single time. Just give it some personality. Maximize the space you have by getting creative. You can make LEDs look good if you try. It's $1 billion company, guys. Don't settle for laziness and expect them to do better. This is a starting point that needs to continue for the Big Four. Anyways, getting off of my soapbox, Cleveland Browns Stadium for this one, 50k plus, and you knew the night was gonna be good when a celebrity performance actually went well. After suffering through the horrors of Hardy, the waffling of Wheezy, Jelly Roll kicked off the show with an enjoyable performance, and I fully expected this to be another entry into the Stop Live Performances petition, but this, I guess, was a good omen for what was to come. Ria Ripley and Liv Morgan for the Women's Championship was one of the headline matches going into this show, and if you've been following this story, Liv's whole thing was that she was going to take everything away from Ria, including Dominik. After injuring Ria, Liv tried week in, week out to get Dom to fold, but this man stayed strong when 97% of us would have folded like a lawn chair. Match-wise, this was filled with drama, and these two worked well together to the point where I want to see another match with these two going at it with the stakes slowly raised more and more each time. Much like a majority of this night, this match was built around something big happening, and no, it wasn't Ria popping her shoulder back into place like a badass, but Dominik Mysterio helping Liv Morgan get the win. At one point, Ria Ripley brings a chair into the ring and Dom stops Ria from using it because she'd get DQ'd. Then later, Dom tosses in the steel chair to help Liv Morgan hit her finisher and keep the championship around her waist. He then seals the deal by kissing Liv right in front of Ria. I don't think this came across on television as loud as it was in the stadium, but Dom got booed so viciously, an outsider watching WWE for the first time would actually think he's a criminal. You knew this was coming, but when it happened, it just hurt so much more. Rhea got pinned for the first time in 26 months, and perfectly, it was the same person who was the last to pin her. And let's be honest, ever since Rhea vacated her title, Liv has been on fire and has finally found her footing. So to have her win was the right choice, and having this as the opener was also the correct decision. It wasn't a classic by any means, it was simple, effective storytelling, and the match was strong. But this right here, this moment taking place on this stage was perfect. Mysterio, while already being the biggest menace on the roster, became a mega heel. Power move if I've ever seen one. Power moves, of course, are Braun Breaker's specialty, and you're going to be seeing a lot of them because he is your new Intercontinental Champion after beating Sami Zayn. With this one, the report coming out was that it was scheduled to go 10 minutes, but it only went 5. I had the exact same thought process. I was hoping Sami would put up more of a fight. I think if you're going to make Braun earn the victory after Money in the Bank, Sami should have gone down swinging. After all, this is the guy who ended Gunther's 666-day Intercontinental Championship reign, but I get it, they wanted to show that Braun had everything scouted and wanted to display him as the dominant powerhouse. Heading into the show, you questioned just how many titles would change hands, and then the worry started to grow even more when we saw the match order. But then we got another title change when LA Knight became the new US champion. And for this man, this was a long time coming. His first singles championship win after consistently being one of the most over wrestlers in the company. I said this in the WrestleMania review, Logan Anderson Knight has beaten the can't wrestle allegations because he and Logan Paul put on a really fun US title match. From Knight's side, it wasn't anything flashy, Logan compensated for that, but this was just a really competitive and fun match. Personally speaking, I didn't have high hopes for this match, but you could argue that this was one of the best matches, if not the best match on the night. They brawled around outside the ring for a while. Paul eats a neck breaker onto the announce table. Logan Paul hits a leg drop and Michael Cole refers to him as Hogan Paul. Both guys had the chance to shine in this match with great feats of athleticism. Logan hit a crazy springboard moonsault, and every time Logan would pull out something crazy, the fans would just chant, "You still suck." You knew that Paul was going to revert to the same old. He goes to his team to grab brass knuckles. After eating one of these, Knight catches a lariat attempt into a BFT, and he's your new US champion. This type of brawly, fun match was so needed on this show, and it was a blast. After this, Nia Jax and Bayley, which was packed with some fun spots, but it was just meh, it was fine. Bayley the whole time fought as the underdog with Nia dominating most of the match. She was able to get Nia up for some great feats of strength. They did a fake out with Tiffany Stratton coming out with the Money in the Bank contract, which gave Nia Jax enough time to hit 2 power bombs, 2 annihilators to win the WWE Women's Championship. It's a typical Nia Jax match. She is what she is. Her second run has been pretty strong if we're being honest. Now they're going to do the whole bit where Nia and Tiffany are best friends, and then the slow turn is going to come out of nowhere and Tiffany's probably going to cash in on Nia to become the women's champion. You saw little glimpses of Tiffany looking at the championship, so they're already planting the seeds for the promo package. One thing that stuck out to me while I was watching this show, and this is a criticism of Triple H's booking this year, is that he tends to play it safe and do little title changes on B or C shows, and then when you get an A show like a Mania or SummerSlam, all of a sudden every title seemingly is changing hands and you get a full reset. I hope that doesn't become a pattern, because then certain things just get pushed back because of what pay-per-view the match is on, and it also kind of undervalues the B shows. This show was an A show though, and we got 7 matches instead of the typical 5. The most anticipated for many, including myself, was the Battle of the Ultimate Trolls, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. For a majority of this year, Old Man Punk and Drew McIntyre have been going at it, trying to make the other person's life absolute hell. From sabotaging title opportunities, to leaving the other guy bloodied in his hometown, to stealing a bracelet with the other man's dog and wife's name on it. Honestly, these two's feud has been awesome. A few months back when CM Punk returned, we were all clamoring for the obvious rivalries like Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, and then him and Drew McIntyre find this perfect dynamic which works so well. You have tweener Drew and face Punk, who have made this thing so personal using social media and promo work to a T. Then in between all the trolling, all the business spills over into Seth Rollins' World Championship match, so we had Seth Rollins inserted as the special guest referee. To me, I kind of wish Rollins wasn't in this match. I felt as though when you have a rivalry that's been going on for so long, your match 1 should be that showcase of the two guys who have been doing a bulk of the heavy lifting. To me, that's how it should have been. I can't complain though, because this match was a blast. Rollins was inserted into this match, and this man was hilarious. This was CM Punk's first WWE singles match in over a decade, and this thing basically turned into a no DQ match because Seth would turn a blind eye to anything that was happening. Thank God this doesn't start with a lockup, because I actually would have shot myself. Throughout the match, both guys have a problem with the guest ref, whether it's because of a slow count or because of Seth asserting himself too much. The two guys have free reign to do whatever they want. Seth's tying his shoe, and the first bit of the match is Punk and McIntyre destroying each other in front of the announce table. Drew brings a chair into the ring and tells Seth to turn away while he's doing this, and Seth grabs the chair and they try to do the SummerSlam 97 fake out where Rollins almost takes out Punk but then thinks better of it. Then McIntyre pulls out Punk's bracelet, and this is our big story of the match. Punk's been dominated for most of the match, and now he's mounting the comeback. Punk gets Drew in the Anaconda Vice and rips off the bracelet from Drew's wrist. This is his Achilles heel, and he's letting his emotions get the best of him. Seth puts on Punk's bracelet, and he sees this, releasing the GTS from Drew, so Seth's 2K referee meter is way past the bar, and basically he should be replaced by now. Our closing shot is Seth and Punk arguing after Seth isn't there to make the count. The brilliance in this is that Drew is obsessed with Punk, and that costs him every single time. But here, Punk is obsessed with Rollins and the bracelet, and that costs him. Drew's always had Punk as his obsession. Now the roles are reversed, and CM Punk ends up being the guy who took his eye off the ball. He gets the bracelet back, eats a kick to the Punks, then a Claymore to the CMs, and Drew McIntyre wins. And then he runs off with Punk's bracelet. It's amazing how a bracelet made by a fan has its own lure in the WWE. So for me, with this match, it leaned more on storytelling and setup rather than what my expectations were. The way this had been framed was that these two were going to destroy each other, that there was going to be a lot of violence, maybe some blood in there too, but that's all forgiven because we have Bad Blood coming up. You know that this rivalry is probably going to be a trilogy and end there. This was a lot of fun and continued to put a lot of things into motion. They'll lean into this story of how both guys are more similar than they think, about how both men need to settle things one-on-one. Seth and Punk's rivalry continues, and you can also lean into the fact that Punk isn't as focused on Drew as he says he is. Now hear me out. I doubt the WWE does this, but Bad Blood is going to for sure feature at least one Hell in a Cell match. For argument's sake, let's say that's Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa as the Blood feud from SmackDown. What if Drew and Punk is a First Blood match? Fantasy booking, of course, but now you have two huge selling points for that show. Are they gonna do it? Absolutely not. Would it be fun? I think so. I now want to touch on the beauty of a character coming together organically. That is the story of Damian Priest. When he won the championship at WrestleMania, there was some worry as to how he would fit as world champion. Are the matches gonna hit? Will this person be worth the company taking a risk on them? And this man proved his supporters correct. Once they started incorporating Priest's story of homelessness into his character, you got that babyface side of Priest, and he was just naturally cool. Gunther, on the other hand, called Priest street trash in the build-up to this match after winning the chance to challenge for this championship when he won the King of the Ring. This made this extremely personal in the weeks leading up to the event. And one of the things you'll notice about this SummerSlam is it's a building block SummerSlam. The opportunity was given to people that they want to have around for the long haul. This match was violent. Hard-hitting strikes off the hop, Priest takes it to Gunther, and Gunther fights right back. I love that there's no BS feel-out process in this one. When these two have made it as personal as they had, it only made sense to start off hot. Every strike by one guy is met by the other. Priest destroys Gunther with chops, and his chest is busted open. No one really has the advantage for a sustained period of time in this match, and that's what the company wants to display this as. So these guys are going to war, and out comes Finn Balor, and you knew the moment it happened that it was over. Finn is cheering on Priest while Gunther is absolutely beating him down. Gunther does this badass thing where he rubs his blood into his hair, and he knocks down Finn, assuming that Finn is the threat. Priest fires up after seeing his buddy get knocked down. After a razor's edge and a south of heaven, Finn Balor places Gunther's foot on the rope and turns on Damian Priest. But Damian Priest isn't one of these dumb faces, or is he? Because he sees what's happened on the replay, and he knows that Finn Balor has turned on him. Now he's out for revenge. Gunther locks in a sleeper on Priest, and you think this is it because usually one distraction is enough, but Priest fights out, fires up, and much like Punk, revenge is the theme of the night. Priest, being betrayed by his brother, goes to get Finn, powerbomb followed by a sleeper, and Priest is put to sleep. He doesn't tap out, he passes out. I like that they didn't just have Priest quit after showing how much he's gone through in life, and it's important because the whole character progression recently for Priest has been that he wants to show that he can do this on his own, that he's outgrown the cheating ways and he's found his purpose. Gunther is your new world heavyweight champion, and the King of the Ring winners go 2 for 2 on this night. The booking of Gunther has been absolutely perfect, but that being said, Finn turning heel is just another one of the many moments that you got on this show. Speaking of moments, this main event was set in motion for a moment to take place. Your main event, Bloodline Rules, Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. After weeks of Solo playing Burger King Tribal Chief and the new Bloodline beating down Cody Rhodes and everyone he loves, it all led to this. Let's talk about Solo Sikoa for a second. For me, this weekend was sink or swim for him, and I really don't think he swam. He was just run of the mill. I'm still giving the guy the benefit of the doubt because it takes time to get better, but the signs, they're just not there. Cody gets a long entrance where he runs into Arn Anderson, who doesn't tell him to pull out the Glock and put it on his forehead, but lets him know that he's got some buddies on the way for him. This match, if you strip away all the shenanigans and the big return, brother, oh brother, it is rough. That Bloodline Rules stipulation really helped out because it was a lot of nothing and a lot of Cody cutters for a while. The interference came when the Bloodline came in to help Solo, and then they did what the Bloodline Rules match essentially is. Not a bunch of crazy spots, but cameo after cameo. First, it's Kevin Owens who comes to Cody's aid, then it's Randy Orton who helps neutralize the Tonga Boys. Out comes Jacob Fatu and he hits an insane dive onto the announce table onto Cody, and I'm sitting there in the stadium watching this, and Jacob isn't getting up, and I'm fully convinced that Fatu has pulled a Vince and torn both quads. I was surprised that they didn't go a little bit heavier into the weapon offense in this match, but they did a lot of near falls with Cody being attacked and then barely managing to get the shoulder up. They did the double down spot, and every time I see this now, all I can hear is Michael Cole and JBL talking about who can capitalize in the Lesnar and Reigns match at WrestleMania 31. And then, what we expected to happen happened. Roman Reigns, for the first time since losing his championship to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40, makes his return to WWE, and you knew the return was coming for a long while, but this was awesome. The pop he got was among the loudest that I've ever heard, and now he's back. WWE's top guy, WWE's #1 attraction, WWE's biggest draw is back in the company, and this man came right for Solo Sikoa. Blasted him with a Superman punch followed by a massive spear after Solo's been running around thinking that he's the new tribal chief. Roman returned as the original tribal chief. Cody hits a crossroads and that won him the match. What I find interesting is Roman gave Cody the nod of approval and said so much without uttering a word. Roman Reigns is back and his return has changed the landscape of the WWE. We're now getting babyface Roman Reigns, and it's going to be so interesting to see how this character develops and how much of the old Roman is meshed in with this new babyface character. As for the main event of the show, if this wasn't changed into a Bloodline Rules match, I'm probably sitting here telling you how boring and awful this match was. Cody and Solo didn't have the chemistry, and if you take away all the Bloodline shenanigans and cameos and the massive Roman return, you get the core of this match, which is not good. The moments are what made this, and the biggest one was Roman coming back. And that was SummerSlam 2024. There was something, again, beautiful about this SummerSlam. Every year, I think it should be a criteria that this show is held in an open roof stadium because there's something so perfect about the show starting off in daylight and then the party coming to a close when the sun's gone down. Now there's so many talking points coming out of this thing. The right people went over, the show advanced storylines properly, and in-ring wise, everything ranged from solid to great. But the consistency throughout is what made this thing. Was a lot of this predictable? Yes. Was the execution good? Yes. Were the matches good? Yes. So I think with that, from top to bottom, you have an enjoyable SummerSlam, and to me, this ranks in the top tier of the event's history. With the top 2 pay-per-views now in the books for the WWE in 2024, it's one of the best pairs of 1 and 2 shows to ever take place. That being said, in the comments below, let me know, what did you think of SummerSlam 2024?